Hey guys, here's the second video for 4.2. I'm going to use some graphing and things like that to solve some problems here today. So first thing we just want to think about is the Pythagorean theorem. Of course, that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So how do we find the length of that third side of that triangle? And so from the Pythagorean theorem, the distance formula was derived, and you can see that if you think about if I wanted to figure out how far apart these 2 points were here on this line, at the end of this line, so I want to know how far apart those. I wanted the distance between those 2 points. If I knew how long that side was, then I would know how far apart those points are. So the distance formula being derived from the difference in the x values. So from here to here, what's the difference in those x values squared, plus the difference in the y values. So from here to here, if we square that, right, just like this says, then we add those together. And then if I wanted to solve for c, I would just square root both sides. And so you notice that d, which would be our distance, or the length of c, has been square rooted, and now the square root's over here. So distance formula is just an application of the Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to be using that. So what we want to do is we want to find the area of a triangle bounded by this line f of x equals 12 minus 1/3 x. And so what I've done here, I've gone ahead and drawn that. And so that the y-intercept here is 12. So it's oh, I didn't do a great job of drawing that, did I? Should have been crossing up there. Oh well. So I should have been crossing here. And so that, and then the slope is negative 1/3, so down 1/3 each time. And so it was supposed to cross, however, at 36, which I did get that. So the x-intercept would be 36, and the y-intercept should be 12. So it's pretty close to this. But so drawing from 12, y-intercept to x be 36 would be the x-intercept. Draw that line. And then so that's one side of the triangle. And the next side of the triangle is the line perpendicular to that one. So line perpendicular to that. So when perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal slope, so the slope of our new line should be 3/1, and it goes through the origin, so its y-intercept is 0. So did that one. So it crosses the y-axis at 0 and has a slope of rise of 3, run of 1, rise of 3, run of 1. So you can see that there. So it's perpendicular here. And then also bound by the x-axis. So this would be our third side of a triangle. So f of x provides one side, the line perpendicular provides the second side, and the x-axis provides the third side. So we're trying to find the area of the triangle in there. And we know that it's a right triangle since these two sides are perpendicular. So if I want to find the area of that triangle, the easiest thing to do would be to find the length of the base and the length of the height, and then 1/2 a times b. So that's what I'm going to be using over here. 1/2 times the base times the height, or in this case, we're going to be using 1/2 the length of a times the length of b. So in order to do that, we need to figure out how long a and b are. So what I want to do is I want to figure out the distance here between these 2 points. So one of them being the origin, and one of them being this point here where those two lines meet. I want to figure out how long that distance is. So we're going to use the distance formula to figure out how long b is there. We're also going to use the distance formula to figure out how long a is, which would be the distance between this point here and then this point over here, which is, again, 36, 0. This is 0, 0. And so what I don't know is where this point is. So I've got to figure out what that is first. Figure out what a of b is, and what b is. So I want to find the distance between the origin and this mystery point, and then that mystery point, and 36, 0. So I'm going to locate the vertex of this. So I guess I already found the other ones. Here's origin, 36, 0, and then where this is. So I'm going to solve this equation. So in order to find out where that point is, I'm going to say that 12 minus 1/3 x is equal to 3x plus 0. So what I'm doing is writing the equation of this line. Its slope is 3 because it's the opposite reciprocal of this, so it's 3, and its y-intercept is 0 since it goes through the origin, so 3x plus 0. Of course, I don't need that 0 there. So in order to solve this, I'm going to add 1/3 x to both sides. It's 12. So 3 is 9/3 plus 1/3 x. So that means that 12 is equal to 10/3 x. So to solve for x, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. That means that 36 is equal to 10x. Of course, divide by 10 here. So x equals 3.6. So that's the x value of my point. That means I need to find the y value. So I can plug that back into either equation, 12 minus 1/3 x, or I can plug it back into 3x. I'm going to do that since that's easier. 3x, my x value being 3.6, which would be 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 0.6 is 1.8, so that'd be equal to 10.8. So that's the location of that point. So I'm going to call that x1, x2, or not x2, x2, y2, y1, there we go. Mondays. Okay. There's my x1 and my y1, and then I'm using these as my x2 and y2, and this will be my x2 and y2 for the different one. So now that I know the location of this point here and this point here, I'm going to use those 2 points to find the distance for that side here. So the square root of x2, which I'm saying is 36, minus x1, which I said is 3.6 squared, plus y2, which is 0, minus y1, which is 10.8 squared. 36 minus 3.6 is 32.4. 32.4 squared is 1,049.76 plus, and then 0 minus 10.8, of course it's negative 10.8. 10.8 squared is 116.64. Add those together. Okay, square root of 1,1664. So square root that. I get 34.15. So that's how long A is. And do the same thing for B. So I need the difference here. So this is my x1 and y1. This is my x2 and y2. So 3.6 minus 0, of course, would just be 3.6 squared plus 10.8 minus 0. So again, there's some other origin. Would be 10.8. So 3.6 squared plus 10.8 squared. That's equal to 129.6. And the square root of that is 11.38. So there's A and B. Oops. So I'm going to take A equals 1/2 length of A times the length of B and that gave me 194.31. I would say square units. So a lot going on there, just an idea of how we find intersection points. We just set the two lines equal to each other, solve for x, and then plug that x back in to figure out what the y value is. Using the distance formula. Of course, something I've done multiple times before to find lengths of sides. I guess I didn't really explain how I found that point when I found the vertices. So we knew that was origin was there. We found how that was. So I knew that was 36 because we started at 12. I was going down 1 and over 3. So if I start at 12, go down 1 and over 3, I'd be at 3, down 1 over 3. So if I have to do that 12 times to go down 12 steps, then 3 times 12 being 36. So that's how I found the x-intercept here. Another way I could have done that was make y 0, so I could have set this equal to 0, so 0 equals this, and then solve for x, just like you were doing on the last section, last video, finding y-intercepts. So that's how I found that point. Distance formula, and then just plug that into the area formula for a triangle. All right, so we're hired to sell electronics. We're given 2 pay options. So we can get a base salary of $14,000 with a 10% commission on sales. And then, or we can get a base salary of $19,000 with a 4% commission on sales. So it looks like one of the salaries is better if you're thinking you're not going to be a great salesman, where you're so you get a higher base salary but then lower commission rate. And the other one's better if you think you're going to be a better salesman, so you a lower base salary, but then you get a lot more. You could have a much higher topping point because you get a lot more of your sales. So how much electronics would you need to sell for option A to produce a larger income? Is our end goal here. So I want to define a variable to represent the money sold from electronics. So you just need to come up with a letter. I'm just going to go with X. So make sure you understand what it stands for. And so they're asking us very specifically to make it the amount of electronics sold. I'm going to write an expression to represent pay for option A. So our pay, based off of how much we sell, would be, so we get that base salary of $14,000 plus we get 10%, so 10% being 0.10 of however much electronics we sell. So if I sold, $500 of electronics, then I get 10% of that back, $50. Add that to my $14,000 salary. I also want to write an expression for the pay according to the second one. So start off with that $19,000. And now we get 4%, so 4% being 0.04, not 0.40. Okay. How much we sell. So if we sold $500 and 4% of that being $20, and so we'd make $20 commission here, whereas I would make $50 commission here. So you see that these would add up a lot faster, but we start at a lower spot. It's asking us here to create an inequality statement to find when the possible amount of money from option A produces a larger income. So we want this to be bigger than that. So that's why it's wanting an inequality. It's not when they're equal. When is A higher? Want to be greater than. Okay, it's saying larger. It's not saying greater than or equal to. So just greater than. 19,000 plus 4x. So we're going to solve this, remove 14,000 to the right. So remove the, so that would give me 0.06x is greater than 5,000. Divide by 0.06. Let's see what that gives me. So I got x is greater than 83,333. And then I got a whole bunch of 3's after my decimal place, but this is talking about money, right? Amount of electronics sold. So I would have 2 decimal places for those 3's. So it's saying that x would have to be greater than $83,333.33. So one way to say that would just be say electronics you would make more income with option A. So the idea is you're judging, you go to be a salesman, you're like judging your experience, like how good of a salesman do you think you are? What's the product you're selling? Is it a bunch of little toasters? Are you going to sell more than $83,000 worth of toasters every year? Or are you selling big ticket items like refrigerators and ovens and things like that, or computers, things that could get really expensive, and so then that's making it easier for you to sell more. Things like that. Is it a busy store, or is it a store that's located out in the middle of nowhere? Is it in a big busy suburb, where lots of people come in? So with all these things you're weighing, it's like, do I think I can sell more than this amount of this much every year? And if you thought you could, then you should pick option A, because you could make more money. That if you think you can't, then I would pick option B. If I think it's going to be close, like, oh, I might make it, I'd probably pick option B, because it's the safer of the bet. You got to make sure that you kind of cover yourself with that extra base salary. So another way to interpret this or do this problem would be to graph it. And so this being amount sold, since that's our independent variable, and then income over here. And so, that first line, starting at 19,000 and having starting at 14,000, but having a steeper slope, so it starts here. Starts at 14,000, but has a steeper slope because it goes up at 0.1. I'm going to exaggerate things. And the second line having a higher y-intercept at 19,000, but having a less steep slope. And so here's that point we're talking about, right? This is that 83,000. So you can see that to the left, option B gives you higher values. To the right, option A gives you higher values. So again, that's kind of that tipping point. That if you're able to sell more than that 83,000, then you do better off in option A. If you're thinking you're selling less than 83,000, then you do better on option B. So there's something to think about. There's a different way to do it. Instead of writing inequality, you could just graph it and interpret the graph. So, all right. Hopefully, section B goes well for you. Let me know if you guys got questions.